As someone who enjoys researching family history, I've learned quite a bit about the skills and hobbies of my grandparents and ancestors further back. And today I want to talk about three of these hobbies, which would be my favourite, and I think would make really, really good hobbies today for somebody who was retiring. Hi, I'm Barry, or Baz to my mates. Thanks for checking in. Now, the first the first hobby is known as scrimshaw. About a year ago, I was on holiday in New Zealand, and I was visiting the port township of Littleton. And in the front window of an art supply store in Littleton was this piece of art which really attracted my attention. It probably measured around 6 inches by 7 inches. It was on a nice wooden frame, but it consisted of three strips of uh, ivory. And on these strips of ivory was a painting of a beautiful old sailing ship from probably the 17th or 18th or 19th century. Um, Now I found out that this art form is known as scrimshaw, and this particular piece was made by a local artist, contemporary artist by the name of Gus Milne. Scrimshaw originated from times when the old whaling ships were in full force, and sailors and crew of these whaling ships would spend a lot of their downtime inscribing drawings on old whale tooths and walrus tooths and pieces of whalebone and ivory. And basically, you draw the picture into the bone or the ivory piece, and then you inscribe or you etch that picture using a sharp tool, such as I think the bailers probably use their sewing needles that they use for the sails, sewing sails cloths. And then once you've got the picture completed, you cover it over with black Indian ink. The sailors would have used something like black powder, gunpowder, or something like that. And that helps the art piece stand out. So yeah, I was quite intrigued by this piece of art form, and I guess I know that these three strips that were used were all white piano keys, and I've since learnt that pianos that were manufactured before 1950 or 51, they real ivory was used to make these keys. So if you know of anyone chucking out an old piano, please go and rescue those ivory keys before they end up in the local landfill. The second hobby which I want to talk about today is something which, my dad made a piece of embroidery. He embroidered this dog on this picture. It was probably measured a foot by a foot, or maybe a little bit in, 18 inches by 18 inches. And he did this while he was in hospital, recovering from one of his many air operations that he had over his lifetime. This picture hangs in one of the bedrooms at my mum's home, and it's a beautiful piece of embroidery, but it's something which it was probably more common for women to do back in the days. And I know that young women, when they were going for jobs as domestic helpers, they would use a sampler. They were called a sampler, and this sampler would consist of a piece of linen, and they'd use different sewing techniques, and they'd sew numbers or their name or different things, sometimes even Bible verses and sayings, and they would use these samplers to demonstrate their ability and their skills in the area of sewing. Some of them, especially those that were named and dated, are quite valuable today and regarded as historical artifacts. Now, the third hobby that I want to talk about today, and this would be my favourite and one which I'm quite keen on trying to develop a skill in, and that is colorising old black and white images. Now, before colour film came out, and I think about the 1950s or maybe 1960s, it was all black and white, and it started way back in the mid 19th century when they used to print the images on pieces of glass or tin. But anyway, at some stage back in the 19th century, artists and photographers started colouring these images using a range of mediums such as oil paint, acrylic, water paints, and even dyes. I've got 2 or 3 of these images. I'll show them in the video, and I know that during the 1950s and 60s back in New Zealand, there was a company called White's Aviation, and they took a lot of aerial photos of different landscapes in New Zealand, and then they had a team of mainly women back at their studio, and these women would colour in these black and white images, and today they are quite sought after, and yeah, they would use oil-based paints, thinned out with turpentine, and they use bits of cotton wool and that as their brushes. And I remember seeing some of these in auctions a few years back when I was in New Zealand, and they were really sought after, but they were beautiful looking pieces of art as well. So yeah, this is probably the cheapest of the 3 options to get into, as you really just need to buy a few oils and some cotton buds basically. But if you want to learn how to develop the skill, there are a few videos on YouTube that show you how to do it. One person I follow is a Roy Kirchhoff. I hope I got his surname right, but he's put out some really good videos, and he's a photographer who's developed his art of colorizing, hand colorizing of his photos. Yeah, so that's about it. But I hope you've enjoyed it. If you got something from it, please consider subscribing and liking. If you know of any of these, if you've already heard of any of these hobbies, please let us know in the comments and let us know which one appeals to you most. Thank you.